Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Your Own Will, a show about all things vampire, including games, mythology, and pop culture. I am your host, David Tveraas, game designer and vampire aficionado. Today we will be talking about World of Darkness's mysterious event at Gen Con. Without further ado, welcome to my house. Enter freely and of your own will. Many vampire fans are already familiar with the World of Darkness, but for those unfamiliar, World of Darkness is a property held by Paradox Interactive, which is a video game company. It was previously held by a company called White Wolf. Paradox has now created a new version of White Wolf as a subdivision of Paradox that runs the games. World of Darkness includes their flagship title, Vampire the Masquerade, a very popular tabletop role playing game. In fact, at one time, it was considered the second most popular tabletop role playing game under next to Dungeons and Dragons, which would be the first. There are also other game lines within the World of Darkness that all have a shared universe, calling it, the World of Darkness. There's also Vampire the Apocalypse, Werewolf the Apocalypse, Hunter the Reckoning, and many other titles. I'll get into that later. But as far as what Gen Con is, because Paradox has this game at Gen Con, Gen Con is a big gaming convention held annually in Indianapolis. It is very long running. It's been running since about 1968. I've been the IT manager at Gen Con since 2016, so I've seen a few of them, but there are some people that have been there since the beginning as well. It actually has DNA with Dungeons and Dragons, as Gary Gygax founded both Dungeons and Dragons and Gen Con. But it has since separated and become its own entity, and a lot of people host role playing games there. There's also card games and LARPs and all other things, all kinds of things, film festivals, etc. And there's been a long history between World of Darkness and Gen Con. A lot of their biggest releases have been released at Gen Con. Gen Con has over 72,000 attendees, and that grows every year. So it is interesting that I haven't seen more White Wolf in the past, but I'm glad to see this new White Wolf event I'm about to show you now. This is the event. It is listed as an entertainment event. It is titled Actual Play, A New Era of World of Darkness. The gaming group, which is responsible for it, is White Wolf. The short description is join us for a live in progress TTRPG actual play test and get a unique first look at a World of Darkness game still in development. The long description is be there as we share a glimpse into the into the future of the World of Darkness, excuse me. This is a live in progress TTRPG actual playtest where you will see brand new ideas, evolving mechanics, and bold experiments play out in real time. It's raw, it's unpolished. It will change. That's the point. What you're watching isn't the final product, it's the game becoming what it is meant to be. They set the minimum audience to 100, maximum audience to 210. That's a lot of people that could be watching this. Mature audience 18 plus, that's on brand for the type of content you would typically see in a World Darkness game. Now, it doesn't say which game is being played here. It could be flagship vampire, it could be werewolf, it could be hunter, or it could be any game that haven't been in their fifth edition. Currently, World Darkness is in their fifth edition. They have vampire, hunter, and werewolf out so far. Other editions, there used to be the big three. Um, Let me get into that in a second. Let me first show you more information about this. Now, it's going to be in the ICC 101 through 103. So this is in Indianapolis. It's the Gen Con map. You see, it's this room right here, 101 to 103. As IT manager, I often set up events here, make sure their wiring's good, they get Wi-Fi and that sort of thing. This type of space is typically a large room, which would make sense, 100 to 210 people, um, where there's usually a lot of chairs placed in rows, like in a theater, kind of. And usually there's an elevated stage with a table where there can be, um, I'm not sure exactly how many, maybe 10, 20 people could fit up there. And there's like lots of lights, and they tend to be mic'd up, that sort of thing. Now it's not our largest room like that. That would be that'd probably be like the ballroom or something like that. But it's, it could definitely hold 210 guests and several people in the back. That's about here. Usually people come in this way. If you can see my mouse. Um, and this is right, right in the front of Gen Con. So this is going to be where customer service will be down here. They'll have will call here. You can purchase tickets around here, and then right here you can get right in. In the Serpentine lobby, this is like a big. But anyway, let me get to the point of all this. Um, so what is this game? We know it's a new era of World of Darkness. It They listed this as an event type entertainment. Now, if they listed this as an event type RPG, then they would have to put the game, but there is no game here. They're intentionally not saying what it is. They're just saying World of Darkness, a new change. So let's go through and see what this could possibly be. Now, the World of Darkness, as I mentioned, there's the big three. Traditionally, in prior editions, prior to 5th, it was vampire, werewolf, and mage. Now in 5th, they don't have a mage. So they have, instead, they sort of elevated Hunter to be the third game that is there so far. And there's a lot of books that have come out published by Renegade Games, who also, they're a big exhibitor at Gen Con. More about that later. But yeah, which game could this possibly be? Let's start with the what I think is the least likely. I think the least likely is that it's completely a brand new game. Like it's not. I don't think it's going to be like a uh, bygones that's like legendary creatures like unicorns, dragons, that kind of thing. I don't think it's going to be something like that. Maybe a more grounded one, maybe like cryptids, creepypasta stuff, Slenderman. That would be cool, but I doubt it. Um, some of their other World of Darkness games that they haven't put into 5th edition: Mummy the Resurrection, Kindred of the East. I just don't see either of those coming about. They're sort of like reliquated to certain cultures. Some, like appropriation as well going on there. You might say a lot of appropriation going on there. But also, there's some other game lines that probably come up front that would want to be created first before you have exploration in those spaces. Now, there's other game lines that were tertiary in the past. Demon the Fallen's a good candidate. Um, Orpheus is kind of like a subset of Wraith, but also they have the Orpheus Foundation in the 5th edition Hunter, the Reckoning, as one of the organizations, the Hunter organizations. I would like to see that expounded upon, a possibility, but I do think that's very low likelihood. Um, Now, let's say something that's a little higher likelihood. They are missing some core games. There's the big three, and then the core five. Um, so they replaced Mage with Hunter. So Mage is up there, but I'd say that's probably more likely. Least likely would be like Wraith or Changeling. Those are part of the big five, haven't been really accounted for. All three games have talked a lot about Wraith. Those are like ghosts. And Changeling, that's like fairies, if you haven't played it or understand what they are. I personally would like to see Changeling in a new edition. I know that a lot of people that I know personally and game a lot are just avid fans for Wraith and say that should be the one. Um, But like I said a second ago, I don't think either of those are coming before Mage, and that might just be my bias of them prior being the big three. But I think Mage has a lot of potential, especially in the current age of, you know, AI and just these huge corporations just taking over the world with this advanced surveillance technologies and robotics, and like that's like there in Mage the Ascension. The core villain is the technocracy, so I think now is like the time to have a Mage game. But that is not what I think is happening here. Let's go back to this page. It says a new era of World of Darkness. And it's saying that this is going to change the entirety of the World of Darkness. It's not saying anything about we're just adding another game. This is unprecedented. This has never happened before. So let me ponder another solution to what this event might be showcasing. We have a new edition every so often. The first edition of Vampire. Normally, World of Darkness editions follow the Vampire editions. Sometimes games get made, sometimes they don't. So maybe we're not getting any other games in 5th edition. Maybe we are going to get a 6th edition, and hopefully they don't do the D&D thing of saying 5.5. Just make it 6. Come on. So first edition only lasted a couple of years. Came out in 1991. New edition was released in 1992. It's like not even a year there. And then 6 years later, they got revised edition. It's only 6 years. 20th anniversary edition. There was a jump there. That was like 13 years. Okay. And then 5th edition came out 7 years later. So you're getting like 6 to 8 years on average there. It's been 6 years. Actually, no, it's been 8 years, right? Yeah. 18 plus 8 is 26, 2026. Look at that. So we're pushing the outer limit here. The only one that's longer was the 13 years between revised and 20th edition. So we're pushing beyond average when we're doing new edition. Now, again, it could be like the jump that was 13 years, and we'll continue making 5th edition books. However, um, World of Darkness has fairly recently, this is last year, rebranded. Um, uh, White Wolf wasn't the label they were using. They were just saying it was Paradox Interactive. We have World of Darkness that works under Paradox Interactive. That's what they made most of their 5th edition books under. And they rebranded with this new logo, White Wolf. They hired some new people. At the time of this article, Jason Carl was still with the company. He ran a lot of actual plays for Vampire, but he has since left. New people are coming in. In fact, they hired this veteran world builder, Jess Lanzillo. I've had the opportunity to meet her. She is fantastic. I think she's gonna be doing good things. I guess she can prove that as we see whatever is coming up here. It's a nice opportunity, and I hope to meet the entire White Wolf crew at Gen Con, as I have to be there. As I mentioned earlier, I'm the IT manager. But before joining White Wolf, as it says here, Lanzillo, Jazz, was with Wizards of the Coast, where she served as vice president of franchise and production for Dungeons and Dragons. What happened recently with Dungeons and Dragons? Her tenure there. They worked on and released a new edition of Dungeons and Dragons. So I think it's natural for whoever wanted her to be at the helm here. Maybe that's the entire motivation. Let's get the person that just made D&D the biggest game into a new edition, or help transition that. That's a potential thought. I don't know anything about behind the scenes, but that's my conjecture. let's say now Renegade Game Studios. They're the ones publishing the books. They historically, ever since V5 came out, have been hosting Gen Con events, including Vampire when Vampire was out, Werewolf when Werewolf was out, Hunter when Hunter was out. However, this year they've got a big release. This amazing game called Dungeon Crawler Carl. Say that 10 times fast. For now, going forward, I'm just going to say DCC if I refer to that. Um, it did a Kickstarter that made like $13 million. Ridiculous. And they also have 103 events at Gen Con that like all sold out as soon as wish lists were processed. As soon as they opened, they sold out everything, and they're having trouble filling it all. But look at the games that Renegade has here. They don't have a single vampire, werewolf, or hunter. Not a single one. Zero. Every year they've always had them. Now they've got all their sold out DCCs. They've got Transformers because that's a property that they make for. They make Heroescape. What else? Exodus. Um, yeah, you could scroll all the way to the bottom. GI Joe. And yeah, nothing. Not a single vampire, werewolf, hunter, or anything else that anything remotely World of Darkness. Scroll all the way to the bottom. They have a lot of events. They have a lot of events. That means they've got a lot of staff, not a single World of Darkness. Let's look on their page, Renegade. That's pre-orders, seeing what's coming up in the World of Darkness, right? Um, you have some DCC stuff here, more DCC stuff. This is their pre-order page, and lots of DCC stuff. Unstoppable, that looks interesting. Exodus, I mentioned that before. Heroescape. What else we got going? More Heroescape. I'm on the fourth and last page. Transformers, Spirited, and one World of Darkness book, Vampire. Courts of the Damned, I do have this pre-ordered. But it's on their fifth page. So they're still making World of Darkness books. They're publishing, they're selling them. And I fully expect to see at the Renegade booth stacks and stacks of Vampire, Werewolf, and Hunter books. Yet they're not running a single event. Now let's look if anybody's running events for Vampire the Masquerade. Yeah, there are some. A lot of them are like there's this Vampire Blood Feud Mega game. There's Mind's Eye Theater LARPs. There's a lot of LARPs here. Any fifth edition. Yeah, a couple. There's the events that I'm hosting, which is a tribute to Bloodlines 2, Bloodlines 2 Reimagined Diablo, and My Bloodlines 2 Reimagined Gehenna, which were also instantly sold out. I thought that was awesome that people are so excited to play that game. And of course, there's a couple other people. This one person made Test of the Moon, Two-Headed Beast, that's 5th edition. Anything else 5th edition? Indianapolis by Night, Shadow of Ramesses, sold out. But, not many. There's only a couple handful here. And that's Vampire, the big game. What about Werewolf the Apocalypse? 3 total. And one's a LARP or an entertainment event. What is that, a LARP or an entertainment event? It's an entertainment event, okay. So there's 2. There's only 2 games here. Yeah, Indianapolis by Night, sold out. Toxic Tempest. No, Renegade's not hosting any, and White Wolf isn't hosting any. How about Hunter? 4 games. Interesting. So there's 103 Dungeon Crawler Carl DCC. I broke it. I thought I was going to say DCC. But there's what, a total of like 17 combined Vampire, Hunter, and Werewolf games. Interesting, and none of them by Renegade, none by White Wolf. And that's something else I think actually lends to the idea that this is going to be Vampire 6th edition is the fact that especially Hunter and Werewolf, it seems to me, I don't have the numbers, but it seems to me they're not very popular. So they're not really going to gain much by adding mage or changeling or like an Orpheus standalone to the 5th edition of the game. I think they want to rebuild. I think they want to build up that brand. I think they hired the people that can do that. And so going back to this original actual play, a new era of World of Darkness, they really mean a new World of Darkness, a new era of World of Darkness. So I don't know if they're going to call it 6th edition. I hope they don't call it Vampire Next, or like Vampire 2026, and then the games don't come out to 2027. That's something that they tried with Dungeons and Dragons. That was kind of um, like a re-revised, reborn. I don't know, but it's going to be the 6th edition of Vampire, and I think the other games are going to fall in line after that. I hope they make a mage. But what do you think? Let me know. Do you think it's mage? Do you think it's something off the wall? Or do you think I'm right and this is a new edition of Vampire the Masquerade to flagship kick off a whole new reborn World of Darkness? And heck, since you stuck around so long, I'll give you a little bonus here. Um, I'm making a video game called Nightborn. It was greatly inspired by Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. However, it's its own original IP. If you enjoy all things vampire the way I do, check it out. It's on the Epic Game Store. It's on Steam for wish lists and follows, and there's going to be a Kickstarter you can follow that's upcoming. I'll be releasing the demo soon. Please play it. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Farewell, creatures of the night.